So obviously we've got some big major developments that have been happening this week with the ongoing documents investigation into Donald Trump. This morning, news reports said that Mark Meadows has agreed to plead guilty to certain charges in exchange for flipping on Donald Trump. So Mark Meadows may have a plea deal. We're still waiting on more information for that. We got Jack Smith going down to Florida to meet with a grand jury in Miami that nobody knew existed up to this point. Like, to me, that's probably the biggest one. Of course, we've got the Mar-a-Lago server room flooded by the guy draining the pool, because I guess he drained it into the server room, because that's a totally real thing that'll happen. But it's that Miami grand jury that I think has not gotten the attention that it deserves. The special prosecutor, who has his grand jury in D.C. working on the documents case, went down to Miami, and suddenly we learn, oh my God, there's another grand jury impaneled in Miami looking at the documents case. So you've got the one in D.C., you've got the one in Miami. It does say the one in Miami is a federal grand jury, not a state grand jury. And there is a big distinction there. But the question is why? Why are there two grand juries? Why are they in two separate locations, especially if they are both federal grand juries? So the reporting could be inaccurate. It could be a state grand jury, and they could be prepared to bring state charges against Donald Trump, in which case he will probably immediately get pardoned by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So I don't think that's a good route. If they want to bring state charges, they're going to have to watch as DeSantis pardons Trump before we can even go to trial. But maybe that's part of it. Maybe they know they can get him on state charges, and maybe they want DeSantis to have to pardon him, to show the public, look at how corrupt these bastards are. I don't know. That seems a little political, but certainly a possibility. But we've got all kinds of things happening here, and the news is kind of flying out fast and furious to a point where it's difficult to keep up. But these are major developments. Of course, we're getting the reports that indictments are imminent at this point. Basically ever since I think about Tuesday afternoon, we've gotten those reports like indictments are coming. They could come tomorrow. They could come this week. They may come over the weekend. We don't know. That may have been one of the things, by the way, that Donald Trump's lawyers were meeting with officials at the DOJ to discuss. We know they wanted to make sure there were no indictments, but if the DOJ told him, yeah, we're going to indict your guy, they may have worked out the details under which they would do that. Because you don't just want to go into Mar-a-Lago, start breaking down doors, and haul the man out in handcuffs in his underwear. I mean, I'm sure we'd all think that was pretty funny, but they're not going to let Trump do that. They have to arrange for him to be arraigned and booked and all of that. So that could be what took place at that meeting on Monday. Again, lots of information out there, lots of new developments this week. But I think that grand jury in Miami, that's the one we need to focus on. This secret thing that has been happening, that has been investigating. We do know that former Trump aide Taylor Budowich went down there and testified with them. You've got all sorts of people close to Trump that are now basically cooperating with this investigation. Things are bad for Donald Trump. And if these reports are accurate, they're probably going to get even worse in the coming days.
This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.